It is a really strange quirk of human psychology how we pack for physical trips.
Okay, for sure.
Like, you might spend days agonizing over a single carry-on suitcase, right? You're trying to keep it incredibly light. You're rolling your shirts perfectly. You're even weighing your toiletries to the exact ounce.
Right, nobody wants to pay those baggage fees.
Exactly. But then when it comes to the mental baggage we carry around every single day, we just let it pile up.
Yeah, we really do.
We haul these massive invisible steamer trunks full of old arguments and slight offenses and, unresolved grudges everywhere we go. We drag them right into the present moment, completely oblivious to how much they're actually restricting our movements.
We treat that mental weight as if it's like a permanent part of our anatomy, rather than something we can just, simply set down. And the longer you carry a grudge, the more it actually begins to warp your posture. I mean, it changes how you interact with new people, how you interpret innocent comments, and even how you perceive your own future. You end up living in this sort of defensive crouch.
You really do. And that is the exact trap we're looking at today on this custom deep dive. We're looking at it through the lens of a profoundly moving text. It's called Chapter 9, Letting Go of the Past.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't just some abstract, philosophical treatise. It's actually a framework embedded in the final, deeply personal lecture of an aging professor named Cromwell-Smith.
Right. And he provides this incredible blueprint that proves holding on to that baggage doesn't just hurt your present, it literally forfeits your future.
Which is heavy.
It is.
Yeah.
And he teaches this lesson while navigating a physical reality that forces the ultimate clarity on the present moment for himself.
Yeah, let's set the stage there. Because the narrative grounds us in his physical reality immediately.
Right. So Professor Cromwell-Smith wakes up with this blinding headache that's just been pulsing since the previous night.
Ugh, the worst.
It really is. It's the kind of throbbing, inescapable pain that makes it difficult to even open your eyes, let alone prepare to go teach a lecture hall full of university students.
Right.
But he pushes through the pain anyway. He anchors his mind to a very specific operating mantra, which is treat each day as if it is your last.
Which, have you ever noticed how a blinding migraine or just extreme pain completely strips away your daily trivialities?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you do not care about office politics or some awkward email you sent 3 weeks ago when you're in extreme physical pain.
Well, your world gets very small, very fast.
Right. The pain forces this laser-sharp mental clarity on what actually matters right now in the immediate present, and that's the filter the professor is operating through.
Yeah.
His physical pain acts as this clarifying lens. It strips away the noise so he can focus entirely on the signal he needs to transmit to his students.
Exactly. And he uses that clarity as fuel, really. He gets on his bike, he pedals through the empty streets, and as he rides, that intense pain begins to ease just slightly, and it's replaced by a profound sense of purpose.
Wow.
Yeah. By the time he just mounts at the campus and walks into his permanent, oversized auditorium, the hum of his students' chatter just condenses. It fills him with energy.
Yeah, he's not there to just deliver a standard academic lecture.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He places his worn leather briefcase on the desk and immediately shifts the whole atmosphere. He transports his students back in time to his own youth to examine the true anatomy of a grudge.
So he takes them back to his days as an Oxford student. Right.
Right.
He describes returning to his hometown, walking straight from the train station suitcase, literally still in hand, to the shop of his mentor, a woman named Mrs. V.
And he is visibly distressed at this point.
Totally. And the moment he steps inside, Mrs. V takes these rapid short steps toward him and just embraces him tightly. He notes that for the first time in weeks, he finally feels safe.
But Mrs. V, she has that mentor's intuition, you know. She takes one look at him and she senses the emotional rot.
Yeah.
She asks what's weighing him down, and he confesses that his spirit feels entirely poisoned by resentment. He's caught in this web of grudges.
Yeah.
2 other fellows at the university are furious with him.
Over what, exactly?
Well, one is over a dispute regarding Oxford traditions, and another is over a girl.
Right. Okay, but this is where we hit a massive psychological contradiction in the text. Because Cromwell-Smith isn't the one holding the grudge. He didn't instigate this. The other fellows are the ones holding the grudge against him.
Exactly. They're the angry ones.
Yeah. Yet Cromwell-Smith is the one who feels his spirit is poisoned. He is the one desperate for a cure.
So, I mean, why does being the target of a grudge trap us in the past just as much as actively harboring one?
Well, it's because resentment is a highly infectious pathogen. When you know someone is harboring ill will toward you, your brain's threat detection system just activates.
Oh, totally. Even if you didn't initiate the conflict, your mental energy is forcefully dragged backward. You start litigating the past in the shower. You know.
Oh, the shower arguments.
Right.
Yes.
You start defending your character in the court of your own mind. You're having these imaginary arguments with people who aren't even in the room.
I do that way too much.
We all do. And Mrs. V sees this infection instantly. She tells him that he cannot control how others behave. Each person writes their own life pages in indelible ink. But by obsessing over their anger, he's basically allowing their grudges to pause his own life.
He has essentially handed them the remote control to his emotional state.
That is exactly it.
And Mrs. V, she doesn't offer him some comforting platitude, right? She doesn't just tell him to ignore them or like, oh, they're just jealous.
No, not at all.
She goes after his fundamental understanding of time. She pulls this thin gray and white book with gold-coated page edges from her shelf, hands it to him, and has him read a poem titled The Past and the Future.
And that poem completely dismantles our conventional wisdom about consequence.
Wow.
Well, we're conditioned to believe that if you make a mistake, the past eventually catches up with you to hold you accountable. But the poem introduces a much heavier, unspoken truth about inaction.
Okay, I'm listening.
Postponing action in the present because you're paralyzed by someone else's resentment isn't just deferring a decision. It is literally postponing your actual life.
Wow. Yeah, think of the future like a ruthless, uncompromising landlord.
We like that analogy.
Right. Because if you do not put in the hard work and sweat equity to build your own house in the present moment, you're going to end up forced to rent whatever reality that landlord hands you.
Yes.
You'll be stuck with the lease terms they dictate, living in a structure you despise. The future is coming around the corner regardless of your emotional state. You either own it or it owns you.
That's spot on. If you're sitting around stressing about a grudge, you're generating a completely passive present. You are doing nothing to lay the bricks of your own future.
And a passive present guarantees a forced future.
Exactly. Cromwell-Smith asks Mrs. V about the difference between the past and the future catching up to you, and she delivers this really devastating distinction. She says the past catches up with you for things you did, but the future catches up for what you failed to do.
Oof! The future penalizes you for your paralysis.
Yeah.
By living in what Mrs. V calls the torturous, masochistic, and narrow labyrinths of our minds, we are guaranteeing that tomorrow will be a hostile place.
And that realization is just a bucket of cold water for the young student. He recognizes that by dwelling on these feuds, he is failing to build his own life.
Right.
But, recognizing the mechanics of time doesn't automatically neutralize the emotional venom of a grudge.
Right, because knowing your anger is unproductive doesn't actually stop you from being angry.
Exactly.
Cromwell-Smith realizes this gap between logic and emotion immediately. He asks her a very practical question. What if moving on simply isn't enough to cure a poisoned spirit? Like it's one thing to say focus on the future, but how do you actually detoxify an angry heart?
So Mrs. V answers by turning his attention back to the book. She points him to a second poem titled Reach Out.
Okay.
If the first poem was a philosophical diagnosis, this second one is the prescription. It's a rapid-fire list of active, unconditional verbs. Lend a hand. Share a dream. Join in hope.
Wow, okay.
Extend a favor. Give a kiss. Teach those in need. Practice humility. Gift with sincerity. Always forgive.
Okay, wait. I have to push back here.
Go for it.
If someone is actively trying to ruin my reputation or undermining me at work, just giving unconditionally sounds incredibly naive.
It does sound like that, yeah.
How does that not just make you a doormat? I mean, going around extending favors to people who harbor ill will toward you feels like rolling over and totally abandoning your own self-respect.
It's a completely fair reaction. On the surface, it sounds like passive altruism, but Mrs. V is actually teaching him the most aggressive form of psychological independence.
Aggressive?
Yes. She warns that holding on to defense mechanisms keeps you trapped in endless loops of pain. The cure is giving. But the crucial mechanism here is that the giving must be unconditional.
Meaning what, exactly?
It must be executed independent of how others behave.
So it's not about winning them over or, killing them with kindness.
Not at all. It is entirely about reclaiming your agency. Think about it. If someone holds a grudge against you, and as a result, you change your behavior, you become guarded, you become cynical, you withhold your generosity, then they are controlling you.
Oh, wow, okay.
Their negativity has successfully dictated your actions. By choosing to reach out and give unconditionally, you sever their control over your behavior. You decide who you are going to be in the present moment, completely unconditioned by their hostility.
So you break the transactional nature of human interaction.
Exactly.
If I do something kind to get a positive reaction from you and you scowl at me, my day is ruined. I outsourced my emotional regulation to your facial expression.
Right, you gave them the power.
But if I give simply because generosity is the operating system I have chosen for myself today, your scowl is completely irrelevant. My spirit remains unpoisoned.
It's an incredibly high-level psychological maneuver. You are insulating your character from the environment.
That is so powerful.
It really is. And this is the exact moment the narrative brings us back to the present day, inside Professor Cromwell-Smith's oversized classroom. Because his students are listening to this story, and they are stress-testing this heavy philosophy with the exact kind of real-world friction you might be feeling right now as you listen to this.
Yeah, 3 specific students raised their hands, and the psychological friction they introduce is fascinating. The first is Emma, a political science student. She hones in on the logistics of the first poem, asking how we can practically differentiate between deferring our lives out of fear versus deliberately waiting for the right strategic time to act.
It is a vital distinction because, let's be honest, they look identical from the outside. Both involve not taking the ultimate action yet. The professor explains that the difference lies entirely in the underlying intention and the presence of momentum. Deferring stems from paralysis, fear, or a desire to avoid discomfort. You are just hoping the environment will magically resolve the problem for you.
Right.
Waiting for the right time, however, is a posture of active patience.
He gives them a really good diagnostic tool for this. Are you taking small preparatory steps toward your goal while you wait? If you are gathering resources, building skills, or positioning yourself, you are actively waiting. You are still living in the present. But if you're just standing still and hoping the calendar does the work for you, you are deferring life.
Next, a psychology major named Maya speaks up from the room. She tackles the emotional mechanics of the Reach Out poem.
This was my favorite question.
Yeah, she asks what happens if you attempt this unconditional giving, but the act feels entirely hollow. What if you extend the favor or offer the forgiveness, and you don't feel that liberating release Mrs. V promised?
This gets right to the core of why most people fail at this framework.
It really does.
The professor explains that the action feels hollow when a hidden expectation is still attached to it. If you give with the secret hope of receiving recognition, closure, or an apology in return, it isn't unconditional. It is still transactional.
The hollowness is the feeling of an unpaid invoice.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
When you expect a return on your emotional investment and you don't get it, you feel empty. The professor clarifies that true liberation is subtle. It doesn't arrive as a sudden wave of euphoria or a cinematic reconciliation.
Right, there's no swelling background music.
Exactly. It arrives as the quiet, steady growth of your own sincerity and humility over time, completely detached from the applause or validation of the recipient.
Finally, Carlos, an economics student, raises his hand to question the practical realities of acting solely in the present. He asks how to reconcile the command to act now with the undeniable fact that significant structural changes in our lives require intense, long-term planning. You can't just build a skyscraper today because you want to live in the present.
Carlos is worried that the philosophy promotes impulsive behavior.
Right.
But the professor warns that the trap isn't the act of planning itself. The trap is planning without execution. Many people use indefinite planning as a sophisticated form of procrastination.
Wow, yeah.
They sketch blueprints forever so they never have to pour the concrete. Life is about ensuring you are constantly translating your plans into immediate physical steps forward. That is how you construct the future while remaining grounded in the present.
It's so true. Whenever we encounter profound, life-altering advice, we all cycle through these 3 skeptical voices in our heads.
Oh, definitely.
We ask about the strategy, like the political scientist. We worry about our emotional capacity to handle it, like the psychologist. And we demand to know the practical timeline and cost, like the economist.
Yeah.
The professor addresses all 3 by proving that acting in the present and giving unconditionally are not naive ideals. They are rigorous, practical tools for survival.
He surveys his students, cementing this shared understanding. He tells them that letting go of the past is not merely a polite act of forgiveness. It is the most profound way to reclaim your present and shape your future. Unconditional giving may heal others, but its primary function is to liberate you.
And having imparted this massive framework, the narrative delivers a stark, sudden shift in tone. The adrenaline of the lecture begins to fade.
Yeah.
The class concludes. And as the students begin to file out of the oversized auditorium, the physical reality of the professor's morning aggressively reasserts itself.
The change is sharp and unavoidable. He is usually a dynamic, towering presence, known for standing up to engage with his students as they leave the hall.
Right.
But today, he remains seated behind his heavy desk. He looks unusually frail, his energy completely depleted, offering only a weak wave as they exit.
The students sense the shift. The text notes they feel this complex mixture of deep gratitude for the profound lesson, intertwined with a sudden, subtle worry for his well-being. Yet Cromwell-Smith maintains his composure. He holds the physical pain at bay, refusing to break until the very last student has crossed the threshold and exited the room.
He waits until he's entirely alone. And then, in the heavy, echoing silence of the empty auditorium, he finally lets go. He slumps forward. The heavy thump of his head hitting the desk is the final sound heard in the hall.
It is a devastating sequence, but when you step back and view it through the lens of everything he just taught, the narrative weight is staggering.
It really is.
He woke up in agony. He grounded himself in his mantra treat each day as if it is your last, and he lived that directive to its absolute literal limit.
He didn't defer his lesson because he felt unwell. He didn't let the physical suffering of his present or the terrifying uncertainty of his own future stop him from acting.
No, he didn't.
He used what might have literally been the final ounces of his life force to ensure that his students would not postpone theirs. He reached out and gave unconditionally, expecting nothing in return, right up until his body simply gave out.
So we have to look at the dual lessons from this source material and ask how they apply to the baggage we are dragging around. First, to avoid being evicted by an unwritten future, you must act in the present.
Right.
You cannot wait for the environment to resolve your conflicts or grant you permission to move forward. Second, to break free from the narrow labyrinths of the past, you must reclaim your agency. You do that by giving unconditionally, severing the control that the grudges and resentments of others have over your daily behavior.
Those two lessons are formidable on their own, but they point toward a final, even more challenging application.
Okay, what is that?
Well, we've discussed the mechanics of the past catching up for what we did, and the future catching up for what we failed to do. We explored the grudges held by others and the resentments we hold against them. But the most insidious mental baggage we carry isn't about other people at all.
Right.
It is the grudges we hold against ourselves.
Oh, the resentment we harbor for our own past mistakes, our missed opportunities, and the times we failed to act.
Precisely. If the ultimate act of liberation is to reach out and give unconditionally, despite the behavior of others, then the most difficult and absolutely necessary application of Mrs. V's wisdom is turning that grace inward.
Wow.
We have to learn to unconditionally forgive the person we used to be. As long as you are litigating your own past, you are trapped in a passive present, guaranteeing a forced future. Releasing yourself from the endless loops of your own regret is the only way to ensure your future finally belongs to you.
It all comes down to the luggage. You do not have to carry that massive steamer trunk of past resentments, whether they are directed at a former friend, an old colleague, or yourself into tomorrow.
No, you don't.
You can choose right now to simply set it down. Stop paying rent on a past you can't change. Step into a future that you actually own. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take a small step forward today.